In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create a very easy to read x-axis here with dates. And you can see this is divided into quarters. And this is quite nice because you can see we have over 1,000 data points here, or basically 1,000 different dates here. And what we want to do here is to grab all of this data, put it in a chart, and make it very readable by dividing it by quarters, and these lines will highlight them as well. So let's start to explore how to do this right now. In this video, we're going to focus on one of the viewers' questions, which is how to show labels of every quarter with large data set in Chart.js. Alright, so this question came from one of my other videos about how to use the config and setup in a line chart in Chartjs, which is just a basic part. I highly recommend you to understand this if you don't, or definitely to watch that one. And then if you scroll down here, you can find the question came from the following person here. I tried to find the Google Translate of how to pronounce it, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but Jong Ilan asked the following question. So first of all, thank you to Jong Ilan for asking it, and this is what he says. Hello, I always get a lot of help by watching your videos. Thank you very much. As well for you, thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying my videos and that they are helpful. And then following what he says is this. I have a question. I'm currently using Chart.js version 3.5.1, the line chart. What if I have a lot of labels? I want to show 3 years with an X label with this specific format or date format of the year and month, or year, month, and date. And I want to input all the data and show only the label every 3 months, or every quarter in this case. And secondly, I want to show 1 year with an X label with the year, month, day format. And I want the X label to show only a specific date, for example, the first of every month. Is this possible? Alright, I'm going to show you basically this question here. That question might be applied on this, but I do not know if you will always want to show here the first of every month, or maybe something else. If that is the case, so maybe because you have like weekdays or something like that, or you have a stock where it only tracks the weekdays and not the weekends, so that might not be always applicable in this specific case. But I'm going to show you these options. There's 3 options I'm going to show you specifically on this, and some of that might be used on here. So let's start and go with the basics. Is first of all, get the default code. We go here to getting started, or go to chartjs3.com getting started, and then in here copy this entire code. And if you want to understand this code, watch this video here, which was basically where the question came from. Alright, so we post this here. Once we post this in here, or we paste that in there, sorry, that's the right term. I'm going to paste this here as well and save that. Once I save this, refresh, we have now a very simple bar chart. So in the case of the question there was a large amount of data. Alright, so I'm going to show you what I did was I had a chunk of data here, which was basically 1,000 days. And maybe you're concerned if you have to do this well. I'm going to tell you don't have to do it. I did this at the time, and then I realized we could just do it in JavaScript as well. So I'm going to show you a simple line of code that we can do as well. So what we're going to do here is 2 things. First of all, because we're going to work with dates, and this is very important, if we're going to work with dates, we must use the FNS date JavaScript library. So that's what we're going to add up in here first. And what we really need is this specific one, DataFNS. Alright, so this is only if you're going to use the command that I'm going to show you for a shortcut for having multiple dates quickly. If you already have a chunk of code like mine, like this, in that case you would not need to, because basically what I will do here is this. I will change this label and just paste this all in there, and that will be it. This is what I will do normally. But if you don't have this, you say, well, I would like to follow along and I don't have this, don't worry, I'm going to show you this. Then eventually this will be useful as well, because we want to format the dates properly. So we go here. We need this anyway. DataFNS, copy this. I'm going to paste this in here. So once we have this simple FNS date. Just a quick note, do not use moments.js. Moments.js has been deprecated is the right term, since 2020, meaning that it doesn't get any updates, and Chart.js is removing that from its system. So you can see here as well, what we need as well next, besides this DataFNS, we need the adapter that will understand the dates that can read it in the chart itself. And this is essential because we're going to work with the scale, and that scale will be a time-related scale. If we go here to the ecosystem, once you go to ecosystem here, we have to scroll down here, and then we have to look for adapters. If you click on the adapters, you will see here these options. Moment is being deprecated since 2020. Don't use this. Use this or the other. In this case, I'm going to use DataFNS. Which one you want to use here doesn't matter. In my case, I just take the first one here on top. So if I scroll down here, then you can see here somewhere we will get a JavaScript library. That's the one we need. We're going to copy this. Once we copy this, we're going to paste this, but we will paste this below Chart.js. Always make sure it's below Chart.js because this needs to load first before this can start. But in our case, I want to have these two, the DataFNS as well loaded before this. So we just have to, so we are sure that this, everything here has loaded first before this starts. Alright, so now we have that here. Now I'm going to show you a quick trick to make a quick date. And this is the same if you would do for an array of data. Because basically what I'm going to do here, and I have this chunk of code as well, having from 1 all up to 1000. So incrementing it +1 basically in a big chunk. But that's not necessary. We're going to quickly make data here. Alright, so first of all, let's create 1000 data points, dp, or data points, alright. Very simple, constant, data points, equal, then we say array dot from, and then we say here array 1000 dot keys, alright. So basically here, we just loop through this array and then we record it here. And if I do now a quick console log, we should see here a nice data point here of 1000 items. Let's go back here, refresh. Oh, alright, don't worry about that first. We see here the array, we get all of this, there we are. This is exactly what we need, and this eventually becomes our data point here. Copy this, and the reason why you don't see anything now here is probably because we comment this out, and we comment that out, so it doesn't record anything. So now we have this here. If I save this, and then remove the label here, we can see here we have now this. Beautiful. Alright. And maybe you say, well, I don't have all these dates. Fair enough. I'm going to show you now how we can make this label if you want to follow along but you don't want to create a big chunk of code. Alright, so in here we're going to create 1000 dates. So we say here constant label, or labels with an S, equals, and then we say here date. This is a command in DataFNS, and this is really good. And we just say here each day, and then we're going to loop through it, but we have one starting day and one ending day here. So we say here, what would be the starting day? Is a new date. This new date will be 2000, well, we just grab this one here basically. We say here 2019, comma, 00, and this means January. It starts at 0. Alright, so 11 is the end. Then we say 01 for the 1st of January. Then we say here, comma, and then create another one, which would be our ending date. We say new date, and this will be 2021, comma, and then if I look here, what will be ending date here? Oh, is here 9/26. So that would mean here, if I'm not mistaken, 08, comma, 26. Save that, and if I would now say here the following, well, let's make a console log. I can just copy this, cut it out, put it in here. Save, refresh. Alright, so we've got this huge chunk of code here. There's a lot of information. Don't worry about it because it shows you all of the dates and all the time here. Then we open up here, we can see here this, and then we get here everything we need. You can see here it starts at 1 January 2019, and our end should be, if I'm not mistaken, September 26. Alright, so that is correct. So now that works here, so this is done. So the thing what you want to do now is basically put it in here. So how will we do that? Well, very simple. Since we comment out this one, we just say here labels equals labels, comma, save. Now if I refresh, We have all of these items here, and we have a huge code here as well. Don't worry about this. We're going to work with this and fine tune that right now. Alright, so we've got this now, and this of course is just not readable at all. And this is probably the issue here as well. If you have too many labels, it becomes not readable and not acceptable for display. So what we're going to do is the following here. So there's a few items that we probably want to do here, and you can see here we have this, and what we want to do is the first in here, we're going in the scales, alright? And what we want to do in the scales here is we're going to play with time, because this here is officially the time item, and we have the DataFNS connected. Because we have that connected, we can now start to manipulate time structures, because normally it's just a normal string. So now it's a time, so we're going to work with that. So we say here, the x, it's in the scales here, make sure it's in the scales, comma, and then we say here time. Oh, sorry, not time, we say type equals time. Alright, so once we have this, what we can do here now is indicating the time. We can say here time, because now we have this object. So basically we create here, the type would be a time object. But now we need to specify and be more specific what we want to do in this time object. And this is the following we're going to say. Well, we're going to say here, well, let's do, for the simplicity's sake, we're going to convert this into quarters. Alright? Because we have the DataFNS, it can read this and convert it into quarters. So we say here unit, and we say here quotation, quarter. Once we have this, we can save this and we can refresh. And now, as you can see, we have this quarter here. We have this large chunk here, but now it's nice and neat this. Alright. So what I want to do here, just for the sake of it, I want to remove this console log here. We don't need this, because we need to do a lot of other modifications now, and I want to be distracted by that. Alright, we have this here. But there's a few items that I don't like here. And we're going to work with months as well, specification. We're going to do multiple of these. You can see here, we have this here. Look at the space here and at the end. That is absolutely horrendous. So what we're going to do now is we're going to remove those space. So basically, what we have to do here in the X, all we say here is the offset. So we're going to say offset here, and the offset here will be set on false. And what happens now, if we do this, we're going to remove the space between. Alright, so that looks already better. The next thing what I absolutely don't like is this. You can see the lines here, but if we're going to work with quarters, it doesn't make any sense to me that the quarter is here, and then we have this line here, and this line has no meaning. It doesn't indicate the halfway of the quarter, because let's look at it. We're somewhere in February, and I expect in April 1 here would be the quarter. And what happens here, they just put it in the center here, but these lines here are not helpful. So we're going to reposition the lines so they will just specify the quarters here. So let's do that right now. So to do this, we need to play around a bit more, and then what we have to do here is we're going to go here on the comma. We're going to work with the grid lines. So these are the grid lines, and in the grid lines, what we're going to do here again, we say offset, then we say here false. Well, if we do this, let's save that first, refresh. You can see now it will cut and will pinpoint the quarters exactly here. There you are. And then we go here. I hope you're able to see it. It's quite, these bars are very narrow, but you might be able to see it through the tooltip. So you can see every time is the quarters. What I want to do, just for the sake of it, you might want to highlight these lines here between. So I'm going to show you that as a bonus, basically. And then after, we're going to work with quarter, month, and etc., etc. But it will be very straightforward once you see them. Alright. So we say here grid lines, let's say here the tick color. What is the tick color? The tick color is basically, it's not the text here, but these green lines here. Or, sorry, green. Oh, I will make them green. So we can just grab them here. Let's say here, this is the green color. We'll just grab this RGB color. And then we say here tick color, and I'll make this solid. So alpha value 1 is that. So if I save this now, refresh, we get nice green tick colors at the bottom here, specifying the separation. Next, what I want to do is just the grid line here, basically the lines within there. So we say comma, and then what we're going to do here, we just say color, and then here exactly the same. We're going to get the same color. This will specify all of the lines there. There we are. Alright, so now we have them. It includes this here. We can remove this one if desired. In this case, I will leave it. But if you want to remove it, it should be in the borders here. I will check that later on. So, what we're going to do next is, let's start to focus on the most important one, because that's the quarter question. Here we have the quarter now. And I can understand, so, well, wait a minute. I want a specific month. Or specifically, this is what the question was. Year, month, date, or year, month. Alright. So, here's one thing. I sincerely believe, if you have quarters, I always believe it will start at the very beginning of that quarter. So, if there would be, the first quarter would be 1 January. By default, if you see January, and then you see here April, and etc., etc., I assume it will start at January 1 by default, because it's a quarter. That's how we divide the quarters. However, I'm going to show you both ways as well, so don't worry about it. So what we're going to do here is the next thing. I'm going to change this, because here, if you want to do specifically, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out, so you have these notes here. I'm going to make a new time. And this time, or in this time object, or namespace, we're going to say here now the unit will be equal to month. Alright? So if we do this, you will see here, make sure you have a comma here. You will see it will specify now month, but what it will do is it will calculate its own structure automatically. We don't want this. We want to control our own structure with that. So what we're going to say is the following. What we're going to do here now is we're going to control the step size, because right now it's every 2 months. So Chartjs assumes this is suitable for you, but no, it's not. We say a step size. With step size, we can indicate every 3 ticks, or every 3 months. So now we have this here. Alright, so now you can see it works same. It's a quarter again, but now specified instead of Q1, 2, 3, 4, it is now the month that is starting point of the quarter. Alright, so we have this here, and then maybe I realized that it would be maybe of any kind of interest here is to align these ticks. What we could do here, just as a bonus, is another bonus, ticks, say align, maybe here would be at the start, so we push it at the front. Alright, so if I save this now, what will happen is start will be this, the tick starts here, so this will move to the side here. I refresh, you can see here that will start to look slightly better. As you can see here, it starts here, so that's the point it draws. It was in the center because that's why it moves here, and you can do it at the end, which means that it will be at the beginning here, and the ending, the tick will be the ending. Alright, so that's one of the other options. So you put it somewhere between there. That looks a bit more better and makes much more sense. Alright, next item here. How do we specify here the specific day of this? Alright, month. Or well, not the specific day. I'm going to put only the first one here. So what will happen here, and this is a default setting as well then, is here comma. What we need to do here is the following. So we have the unit here, which would be month, and then we can specify the display for display formats. So basically, what we're really doing here is we're going to specify this how this month will be displayed. So we say here month, and then we say here the following. Alright, so we just have to check here is Y, and if I'm not mistaken, it should be double M, this big M. Alright, so if I save this now, we should have now reconfigured the structure of this. Because right now it's just January and a year, but we want year and January. So if I move this, we have it like that. Alright, so we can see this. The reason why this is like that is because if I do this one, probably we get an error. You can see it doesn't work. The reason why probably, most likely what it is that DataFNS has a certain structure. So you have to follow that structure. Next one, if you do this, we get here. Now you can see the default will always be 1, and the reason why it will be 1 makes sense is because the first of the quarter. It's always the 1st January, 1st April, 1st July, 1st September, or sorry, 1st October, and then that's it. So this is basically the structure. That means I'm not 100% certain with your question number 2. I know that it is possible. I have to make a separate video with it for that because we need to probably work with callbacks to extract a specific date. But this is one of these options right now that will answer your question. All right. Maybe you have something else. You want to reduce the amount of formats here. That is possible. There is still like a max ticks here. This is another option here to reduce the amount of ticks that you have. Max ticks limit. And here you can say, for example, you only want 4 ticks to be displayed on the chart, no matter what. So if I do this, you can see what is happening, but it will counteract on certain design. You can see here, because this now doesn't make sense at all. However, this is one of the other options, but probably not what you really want in this case. So this is it for now, and I will definitely cover another video, your other question, how to figure out exactly how we're going to work on that one. Next, if you really enjoyed this video and you want to maybe go even deeper because you're going to work with a certain structure of data, maybe this is another one as well, which I would highly recommend to everyone to understand the data structures in Chart.js. This goes deep in building more complicated items, and especially if you have like these kind of dates here, like this, then you probably also have numbers that are matching with those directly, and you can combine them together in the data structure. So check out this data structure video as well. It's very useful for advanced connections with the data.